The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, eat from the tree of life. We've gotten so bogged down with either or, black or white, this or that, wrong and right. But it's not about that. It's about the tree of life. Stop putting labels on yourself and stop allowing other people to put labels on you. Because you know what that is for? When they put them on you, it's easier to judge. And it's easier to put you in a little box and say, I don't like that person because they're this, because they're that. Amen? Amen. So, we need to get to the point where we are at that level in our mind. The mind of Christ is what will set you free. And the power and the change is in your mind. The final point tonight is the change is in your hand. Everybody say the change is in your hand. Okay, I like to see my life as a poker game. How many of y'all have ever played poker before? I know we don't talk about that in church usually. Everybody's a little holy for that. Everybody's too holy for poker. I passed Harrah's on the way over here from my hotel. I was like, what? That's all I'm going to say. Sanctify a blackjack right now. No, I'm just playing. You got me. The changes in your hand. When you play poker, I'll describe it a little bit. You're dealt a hand that you have to play with. It's a hand of cards. You don't have any choice over what you've been dealt. You don't have any choice over what you've been given to use. But it is not the hand that you've been dealt. It's how you play the hand that you've been dealt. Because I could win a game of poker with a couple 2s and 3s and jokers and stuff if I got my poker face on. What matters is what's in your hand, not what you've been dealt. How many of you guys have ever heard there's a woman, she's starting to get well known, man. It's kind of popping off. Like, I've really just been praying that she goes to that next level. Like, she just needs a break in her life. Her name's Oprah Winfrey. Has anybody ever heard of her? She's just kind of well known. Anybody know her? Everybody say sarcasm. Sorry. Oprah Winfrey was dealt an amazingly hard hand of cards. She was raped, she was molested when she was a kid, she was in extreme poverty, dealt with racism, all kinds of insanity. Now she's one of the most important figures of history, especially at the present day, probably the most wealthy woman on the planet, and has done so much to further and progress the world. She could have taken those cards that she was dealt and completely gave up. And I'm sure she had moments where she was like, forget it, I don't want to do this at all. I don't want to be here. But she used it to the best of her ability and did what God called her to do. How many of you guys have ever heard of a little guy named Moses in the Bible? Anybody ever heard of Moses? Moses was dealt a lot of crazy stuff. One being a speech impediment. I don't know if you know this about Moses, but what did God tell Moses to do? He told him a lot of things, but what was the main thing? He said, go tell Pharaoh what? Let my people go. But the key word, go tell him. And if I was Moses, I'd be like, yo, God, I'll go tell him. I would love to tell him right now, God, can you fix my speech impediment, God? Because when I go in there, I just let Pharaoh let my people go, like that. And the reason why I can say it funny like that is because I used to have a little bit of a speech impediment too. And I literally would sit in front of a mirror and pronounce my words like this and try to get it. That's how mine was when I was like in middle school. So if you have a handicap like that, and you're dealing with that, and then God asks you to do something with the very thing that you consider to be a handicap, and you got to go talk to the king, you got to go talk to the Pharaoh, you got to go talk to the dude that can just kill you like that, and tell him, let my people go. His brother Aaron had to end up speaking for him, which teaches us that we need to surround ourselves with people who can help us in our weaknesses. Oh, yeah. Be real. Oh, yeah. If you don't have the right people in your life, you're not going to get anywhere. If you don't have the right teammates, you're not going to win anything. I don't care if you're LeBron James. If nobody else wants to make their shot, you're not going to win. And I'm not even the biggest LeBron James fan, but let's be real. He can't do anything by himself. You've got to have a team. And if you don't surround yourself with the people and the right players in your life, you will never win anything. If they're constantly speaking these negative words and these negative thoughts over your life, you will not progress. Surround yourself with a good hand. Surround yourself with people who build you up and not tear you down. And that's what Moses did. But I find it amazing that God assigned him to do something so powerful, but it had to do with his handicap. So I want you to remember that tonight. If you feel like, man, I'm weak in this area, or I'm not maybe I'm not as smart as I should be, or maybe I'm not as good looking as I should be, or maybe I'm not as dynamic, or I'm not as bubbly of a personality, or I don't know how to communicate. You start building yourself up with all this negativity. Understand that God will use that very thing and change the world with it. There was another instance of Moses where he was at the Red Sea, and he was leading the Israelites, and he's got the army coming at him, and he's faced with an impossible moment. Some people believe that he literally parted the Red Sea. Some people believe it's metaphorical. Doesn't matter. The message remains. The message is that God can come through and do the impossible. But what did he use? Can anybody tell me what Moses used? He used his staff, which was what was in his hand. He said, God, I need your help right now. God didn't tell him, run down the street and grab this. He didn't say, reach up into heaven and grab that. He said, use what's in your hand. Some of you have to understand that, man, God has given you and equipped you with everything that you need. You have no need, which is bad for me and Dr. Roach and some of the other pastors in here. You have no need for a man to teach you. That's what the Bible says. But you have the need for someone to educate you. And the root word and the root meaning of educate means to draw from within. And to draw from within just means to remind you of what you already know. Everything that I'm saying tonight, you already know within your spirit, even if your carnal mind doesn't understand it. So I'm here tonight to remind you of who you are. And if you can begin to tap into that, when you're at the edge of the Red Sea and you have an entire army coming at you, God will look at you and say, don't reach up to the heaven, reach inside of you, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's not in the clouds somewhere. It's right now in your heart. It's in your brain. It's in your spirit. It's in your soul. It's in your body. And when you reach down into that water, God will make a way where there was no way. He will do the impossible, and he will wash every enemy in your life behind you like he did Moses. All he had was a stick, but it wasn't what he had. It was not about the hand. It was about how he played the hand that he was dealt. God will do the impossible in your life. You don't have to be able. You have to be available. Somebody say available. If you make yourself available, God will make you able. God will equip you. So many of us miss out on opportunities to say, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not that guy. I can't do that. God doesn't understand the concept of can't. If you just say, God, make me, I am available. I am available, God. Use me. I promise you God will use you. He used me. I was dealt a hand that a lot of people would quit over. They would not only quit life, but they would quit the ministry for sure. My family for 30 years built one of the largest churches in Atlanta. $25 million campus, 43 acres, 3 buildings. It was in my name. That was my inheritance.